This house here. All right, so this house actually I found it for a different client. I got a lot of investor clients, and I try to find all great opportunities. He just wasn't prepared. And so I said, well, I know a friend of mine that is prepared. And so I've been working on this house for 8 months because of it. It was a short sale. There are headaches, but you can make so much money off of short sales. And it's really a matter of studying it and getting with someone that actually has some understanding and background in it, so you can acquire them and reap the reward. This particular one, we originally had, I think, at 6 1/4 versus the 675. We ended up having some issues. Guy fell off. We ended up buying it again, going back to get it. And we're at 675, went full list because we know what we're going to make off of it. So yeah, we'll give you full list. Sometimes it's not worth negotiating and finagling. You got to look at what you can make off of it. Don't look at what the next person's making. That's a person's number one mistake. I can care less if you're going to make $100,000 off of me if I'm going to make $200,000. I don't care. I'm looking at my return on investment, not what you're making. I think that's number one. Focus on what you can do. But this particular one, you know, we were comfortable. We know that we can go in and make a few changes. It's in a great area. I think we have 5.5 behind us. To the left here, I think we're like 2.4. Over on this side, I think we're at about 3 million.
It's about 2 miles southeast of here.
Yeah, it's right off of Long Island. And it's been really great. We've been working with this thing, and we're looking forward to it. There again, he's that $700,000, where you at? 1.5, we're looking to potentially go back. AVM is 1.7 million. And the houses sell roughly 10% above the AVM. So we're thinking about maybe going about closer to 2 million on this sale versus that. So, but it's a great house.
Okay.
So
Do you have a question?
those two deals have been sold, or they haven't been sold?
No, we just acquired it, not sold yet.
Yeah, this one is closed. We're closing this one next week.
Oh, it's sold.
Yeah, it's sold. Everything is sold. And the
On the buy side.
The other one's completely renovated already now. We're down to the studs.
Okay. So are you adding square footage to these homes, or you're to?
It depends. The cold stream, we didn't really add any square footage. We just really went in, gutted it out, raised the ceiling somewhat, changed everything, added square footage as far as like what we wanted our master to be. We had huge bedrooms, so we were able to go through and take, you know, a few feet off of each bedroom, add a Jack and Jill. So it's just certain little things that you can go in and do, just be creative. And it really pays to work with a creative contractor too, because it doesn't put all the stress and pressure on us to come up with the best concept. You know, we can work with others that can bring creative ideas to the team.
Yes, sir.
A house in the 2 million price range, what's your average time in the market you got to take?
Repeat it.
I sell pretty fast. I try to list my prices right. I think I'm in the top 10% of how quick I sell in the state of Georgia. I'm proud of that, actually. So I would say, realistically, we'll put Coldstream on the market probably by the beginning of April. I plan to have it sold probably within 30 to 40 days. This one, I want this sold definitely by June. So by June, I hope to have them both sold and done. So we're about 90 days. You got to price them right. So I look at the AVM there again. I'm going to look to see what's to the left of me, what's to the right of me, what's selling, and I'm saying, okay, well, I'm going to mess with myself right here. It's just that simple. Look at my profit, how much we can make, and move on. Get to the next one. And I'm a commercial guy, so I don't really do residential.
Let me add to that, guys. Can you hear me? $1 million, we call them tier 3 properties. You better know what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're selling a $1 million, $2 million house in 60 days, you got to know a whole lot of what you're doing. You know, my question is, you know, when someone asks me, where do you want properties? I'll look at properties everywhere. My answer is multiple exit strategies. You know, I want the whole market share to want my house. What's the bell curve? How many people want $1 million, $2 million houses? You better make sure you're the right house, the right finishes, the right dirt, the right everything, and the right price. And you have to be pretty experienced to do that, in my opinion. And have a very good team, like a good team of agents. You know, you're going to spend money probably staging that house.
Yeah.
We've done a few $1 million houses. You know, our staging fee is $7,500 when it's all said and done. Yeah, I've been in the business a whole long time, and we can't sell our $1 million houses that quick. I just want to say that,
Yeah.
you know, in case you have a market, go find it. Here's another team player for you.
Yeah.
You have to look at the area where you sell it.
Yeah.
How people want to look at that area.
So you're looking at the area where you're selling. Again, what's the sweet spot in that area? That's some of what we do for evaluating. You know, it's you've got to know how to evaluate. You've got to know how to find the sweet spot. You know, sometimes I'm looking at Duluth in Fulton County, and you know, a lot of our model is 275 and under. But when I get to that market right there, if I'm in Peachtree Ridge High School, you know, I might be at the 325 to 550 market. You know, that's my sweet spot. I'm going to go back and look how many houses have sold, how many houses are active, you know, under contract sold in that price point. Building your team is essential to this business. You know, we have $1 million plans. We have business plans to make $1 million. All I want is 20% of that. I need that expert, I need that expert, I need that expert, I need that expert. You know, I need all these people on my team in order for me to keep going and keep doing the volume that I'm doing.
He's literally in the Chastain Park area with this property, which is one of the highest sought after areas in Atlanta. And we are also in the best market that we've seen in the last decade. I mean, this is the time to do a fix and flip if you're going to do a fix and flip. You know, it's the fastest marketing time. It's one of the hottest markets we've ever seen for sellers. But if you can buy low, then you get to take the best of both worlds. That being said, since the market will not always stay this hot, not because there's a cycle, as some people would like you to believe, but just because of the decisions we make as consumers and internationally, there's going to be corrections and there's going to be declines, but buy and hold will always be there. There will always be renters, and despite the temptation of the quick game, the buy and hold is the rock to rest your head on. So that's why we're ultimately a buy and hold organization. But I'd love to see a fantastic fix and flip. And if you have the time and energy to go at it, and you can find the deals or get someone to go do it for free for you, then it's a great direction to go.
So, with that being said, let me say, is Kyle in the room? Kyle? So one of my favorite Georgia Rehab members is Kyle Kupfel. How many people know him? Kyle sat here 3 or 4 years ago, and Kyle was trying to figure out how to quit his job. And I want to say that he's an IT guy by trade. And he went to class after class and talked to investor after investor and just gathered a ton of information. He had savings and money that he could use to get in the business. And Kyle found a niche. One of the things we're going to do, 2 things I'm excited about for the boot camp is, one, we're going to Cobb County on Saturday the 24th, March 24th. That's where the bus tour is going to be. It's going to be in Cobb County. 1 or 2 of the houses is going to be Kyle's houses. And one is along the way in the rehab, and one is just getting started. We're going to look at a bunch of houses over there. Finding deals is the goal right now. You know, I'm a broker, I'm an investor, I'm a broker in multiple areas. I've got agents. They keep bringing buyers. I said, look guys, we don't need buyers. All we need is to put houses on the market, put them back out there, they're going to sell. We need to keep finding houses. Kyle has a niche in probate. My niche has always been foreclosures. So I've got a ton of experience buying at the steps. I have a ton of experience buying REOs and a ton of experience where I got started, which was pre-foreclosures. So I'm doing a whole lot of all of that. Buying at the steps right now, it's too expensive, the numbers aren't working, so I gotta go back and pick up rocks. And so I've got a team together. I don't do everything because it's exhausting. I don't wanna do all of it. I'm not the best one at all of it. You know, my job is to work on the front end, to find the deals, work with the sellers, do creative structuring, and then buy the house and then sell the house. I've got other guys on the team that do a lot of other parts of that. So we're doing pre-foreclosures right now. I just pulled the list from my area. And I say this to to you. This is about you tonight. And you have to know, what is your area? You have to target an area. So I'm looking at the Northwest. The list I got for pre-foreclosures included 7 counties. There's only 315 houses on that list. So now I'm going through that list and I use red, green, and yellow. The red ones I don't want to have anything to do with. Green ones, somebody's driving them for me, bringing me back data. Yellow ones, we're going to look deeper, looking at this estimate, looking at my rehab estimate, looking at a bunch of notes to decide what I'm going to do. We're knocking on doors. We're doing direct mail. And potentially may go to the steps because we've got intel with those homeowners. This last auction, March 6th, last week, we stopped 3 foreclosures. I listed one, got an immediate contract, which we're going to short sale. Hopefully we're going to do a record short sale time. I have to be honest, I don't really like short sales, but we're pretty good at it. Our target is doing subject to deals. This is where we take the title and the loan stays in the owner's name. So again, this is finding the deals. One of my specialties is finding the deals. We primarily focus on flips, so a lot of what you'll hear from me is going to be about flipping. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that a minute.
How do you Rick? So, I've been education director since December. I haven't been doing this that long. And since I have meetings with the executive director, she tells me the same thing all the time. Our main event is the buy and hold boot camp. That's where Kurt and Darlene spend so much time and energy teaching you everything they know. And that's a great class to go. How many new investors do we have in here? Raise your hands. Okay. And how many seasoned investors do we have that own 2 to 20 properties? Okay. So, the beginner boot camp, the what's it called? Fast start? Fast start.
It's fast start, and it's not focused on buy and hold. That's the one later in the year.
Did I say this was someone else?
Did he?
No. I'm just really
I heard
nervous.
him. Yeah. Play back.
Okay. So,
Fast start. Steve is one of the instructors actually, and Steve is our resident expert on building wealth. You know, and so passive income and building wealth. So he definitely will hold down that part of the boot camp for us.
So what's the name of the boot camp again?
That's our boot camp, and it's all about flipping.
So March 23rd, 4th, and 25th.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Saturday's the bus tour, Sunday's the wrap up. Friday night is a meet and greet and warm you guys up. I'm only
All day
involved.
Friday.
it's all
Oh, it's all day Friday now? I'm only involved for 2 hours on Friday.
No, that's a buy and hold, it's in April.
So he's doing
I'm
your 2
involved.
o'clock in the afternoon
Okay.
on the Mayo for buy and hold.
Glad to know that. I know I'm only involved for 2 hours, not anybody else. So, it's a flipping boot camp. We've been doing it for a long time. I've attended it probably 10 times. And there was absolutely nothing in it on buy and hold. And yet we tell everybody they should buy and hold. So, I put a little 2-hour segment in it on buy and hold, which is all I teach. I usually attend the whole thing, but I'm too busy this coming weekend, that weekend to do it. But as a follow-up to that, we did start a buy and hold boot camp, which I'm intimately involved in.
Yep.
And that's coming up in April. But right now we're focusing on the one coming up in March. So, flipping, as you've seen tonight, you can make a good buck flipping. Always remember you've got a partner in that. Who's your partner? IRS. Very good. Buy and hold avoids a lot of those hassles, so to speak. But it is a good way to get some cash that you can then leverage into hopefully some buy and hold investments. I think most of us are big proponents of buy and hold. That's how Kirk quit his job. That's how I quit my job, with a buy and hold, simple buy and hold strategy. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with flipping, and you have to learn flipping. I would do flipping for fun if I were a little younger. I mean, you watch the shows on TV, you get all excited, right? So you've got your buy and hold, you've got your $100, $150, $400,000 a year income, you're all set, but you're bored. You like real estate. It's a great challenge, it's very rewarding. As somebody who financed these deals since 2012, I got the biggest kick out of just watching people do the rehab and do it correctly, not the ones 3 months that take 3 years. I'm involved in one of those now, unfortunately. But I'm going to make out just fine. He's not going to make any money at all. He's going to pay all me in interest. Bad deal for him. So, any questions about flipping tonight is particularly our focus, but if you have other questions, we'll be glad to try to handle it.
Any questions?
What is the average time of a buy and flip? I'm confused now with all the things you just said.
All right, so one of the rules of thumb is your contractor needs to install $1,000 of rehab per day. So let's say you educated yourself and you calculate the rehab is $50,000 for this small flip. That's a small flip, very small flip. It should take 50 days of rehab. So from the day you close, I won't count the amount of time it takes to find the deal. You close on the deal, your contractor should start in the next week. 50 days later, the rehab should be done. 50 days later, your rehab should be done. Let's just say that's 60 days, that's 2 months. So 2 months after you close on the purchase, you should be ready to start marketing. It should be listed on MLS after 2 months. Most folks take 3 months to do what should be done in 2 months. So that should be a 3-month rehab. And then you market for a month, and because things are so fast, 30 days on the market, you get an offer, and then 30 days to close, so 60 days later you're closing. So total time to the point where you get paid, it should be 4 months, it often is 5 or 6 months on a small rehab. A $100,000 rehab, now 6 months would be a good goal to actually get paid. Those often stretch out to 9 months and longer. Go ahead, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. So, in working on that rehab, what percentage of time do you put in a deadline in your contract with the contractor with penalties if they extend past that?
Repeat it out loud.
Yeah, so you have a contract, a written contract that is line item by line item for the rehab. What are the penalties that you put in your contract? $100, so you have that walk through for the second time with your contractor. You ask them face to face. Now, when can you have this rehab done by? And he says, 3 months from now. And you pick that date, you write it down. If I give you 2 more weeks, can you for sure have this done? Yep, absolutely. Is that fair? It is fair. I'm going to put in the contract $100 a day penalty if you don't meet 2 weeks longer than what you've said. That's typical.
So, an obvious challenge for new investors is how to overcome not having the experience of having done multiple properties. And it's something to add time to, spend time learning about, but most of all, the times we see delays is because people run out of money. Let's say, for example, you have 3 draws and a $60,000 budget, but you underestimated your budget, and it's really twice that. Well, the first 20, so the lender is going to say, okay, when you're 20% complete, I'll give you your first refund. So the first 20,000 is coming out of your pocket. You complete 30, theoretically, you're supposed to complete 33% of the project, then you get your draw. Well, you might get away with that the first draw. Roof's done, paint on the outside, garage doors, new windows, okay. Well, the next draw, it's not gonna look 66.6% complete if you're less than halfway through your budget. So you're gonna end up having to come out of pocket when you underestimate your budget to get that next phase of completion. And that's what happens more often than anything else. Is people underestimate their budgets, don't have the money to get to the next phase, can't request the draw because they're not there. Or even more, you have perfectionists. You know, I believe it was Voltaire that said the enemy of the good is the perfect. You know, people want to make things perfect, so they keep demoing and the demo never ends. I had an example of that where someone had a rehab budget, they demoed it down to the base. Got a rehab loan, we demoed the whole house. You know, that's going to cause some problems in the construction process. So, they call it hard money for a reason. You know, the payments are usually 1% of the balance, and it's a factor. So, you have to have a budget from Earth, and you have to have the experience or use people that have the experience to help you get through that. Also, if you're a first-time homeowner, you're not an investor, you're a first-time home buyer. Okay? There's a difference. A lot of people disagree with me, but that's my perspective, and I'm allowed to have it. And I'll give you a scenario. If a first-time homeowner, as opposed to an investor, bought 566 Coldstream Court, they would have to come to closing with 10%. And that's only because it needs rehab, and that's because it's an FHA 203 Mini K. Also, since the after repair value is so high, you could defer the payments on that. You could roll it into the loan. I could bore you to death by reading everything I typed, or you could just trust me when I come to these conclusions. But your cash infusion would be $35,995, which is 10%. You'd also get $20K for rehab and $4K for payments, which would allow you 3 months to get that up to livable standards. Not granite countertops, just livable standards. The rest of it would have to come out of pocket. Here are the FHA loan limits for the 13 county metro Atlanta area for a duplex, a triplex, and a fourplex. You don't even want to know what the numbers would look like on this if it was a cash flow and quad, but I'll show you anyway. So, 203K, the holding costs, instead of $33,300, they would actually be $0. And the total out-of-pocket costs would be $36K, and then you would pay another $34,000 to complete at your own rate, at your own speed, with your own money, while you're living there.
Rick, you're talking about house hacking now. So you jump to first time.
No, I'm not. I'm not talking about turning this into a quad. I'm not talking about house hacking. What I'm saying is if this same property value was a quad, just the value, not the same property. If it was a quad, I'll go into a buy and hold. I'll probably use that out of place. Disregard that for the moment. Disregard it. Okay? So, being what it is, this, as a primary residence, would cost you $2,000 a month PITI, $36,000 out of pocket, and $34,000 with very little dispossessory risk. You make $4,000 a month, you qualify for this. Do you still have the same upside potential? Absolutely. Without a balloon being called due in a year. So, if you are a first-time home buyer, first-time investor, think of yourself as a first-time home buyer, not a first-time investor. Now, if you were to find a quad in the same price point, and let's say each unit rented for $1,000, that would be $4,000 on a $2,000 payment. That would be a 2-to-1 debt service coverage ratio. And that would be an awesome buy and hold. That's the only point that I was trying to make, not that it should be chopped up, because that would be non-conforming use. Where do you start? What is the right credit? How much is sufficient income? How much money do you need to go? In what direction? Those are the questions that have to be evaluated to go from there. And the point of these slides is really to introduce the panel and stimulate conversation. We're going to open it up for the next 30 minutes for conversation and whatever anyone wants to hear to discuss different aspects of it, whether it's first-time home buying, managing a portfolio, debt service coverage ratio, leveraging, investment property.
Remember, I got a topic. So leveraging the how long a flip should take. One of the problems, since I also onboard new members, so everyone who joins, I interact with you, giving you the jump start, and I have some new members come to us who are halfway through a flip. One of the problems I hear new flippers have problems with is that the first crew underbid and then worse, disappeared. Who has ever had a project where the contractor disappeared? Raise your hands. A number of hands in this room says that this is a problem. That you start a project and you have to end it with a different crew. Well, guess what the different crew is going to do? They're going to give you a new rehab, and you're going to do some tear out, and you're going to double your completion time, and your rehab costs may not double, but they'll go up by a third. So that's another reason why flips run into problems, both time and budget, is that crews sometimes don't do the work that you want, or they just disappear, or you have arguments with them. One of the bidding tactics is to underbid your project, get on board, then the crew chief or the general contractor starts giving you increase in scope requests. Oh, we underestimated, there's more rock, there's more termites, there's more this, more that. And so pretty soon, he's got you over a barrel. Who has had scope increases on your projects? Oh my God, all these hands, that's so surprising. So, you've got to start with good crews that have worked for other rehabbers that you can trust, or have your own crew. So, my rehabs, I do rental rehabs. I buy junkers, I like the trash in the house, and then I have a crew, and the crew I've used did the last 6 houses. My rehab budget is $15,000 to $20,000. Now, you can't even imagine. Your kitchen cabinets cost $20,000. So I do a whole rehab for that. So I am in a different league. But I have had contractors up in Tacoma, Georgia, Commerce Store. So I do rural areas where I had to put them off for various reasons. I had to finish the rehab, or I had to find another contractor. So it happens even in the low scope range. But if your budget's $100,000, oh my God, it's very tough to actually get the crew to actually finish that whole project, or not be an argument with you, or not increase your scope. It's other issues. Anyone else?
Upgraded finishes are the exception to that $1,000 a day rule. So if I'm doing a tier 1, 50,000, I may do 50 days. If I'm doing a tier 3, 50,000, it's a very small rehab. and most of it's on high-end finishes, high-end fixtures, for example. So that's not necessarily going to go up like that. I want to ask a question from you guys. How many here have fixed and flipped less than 6 and more than 1? How many here have done 2 to 5? Keep your hand up. 1, 2, 3. You guys, what price point are your houses in? Your sales price, your ARV? Low 200s. Who else had their hand up? Price point.
150s.
150s. Who else had their hand up? Who's that back there, Steve? What? Pardon?
150.
150 to 250. Any other numbers? So you guys, let's talk about this. The same ones. How long did you take? Give me a couple different projects that you've done from the purchase date to the sales date. How long did it take you?
I've had 70 days, and I've had as long as 8 months.
From 70 days to 8 months. So when you did a 70-day sale, what was the funding of your buyer?
For the buyer, it was conventional. The
Conventional, that's good. Steve, so you're fix and flip. How long did it take you?
I probably did it a lot different than most other people.
That's what we want to hear.
I acted as my own general contractor. So I hired the roofer, the carpenter, the painter, the whatever. And my biggest advantage was being able to schedule multiple contractors in at the same time. I can be having the inside of the house painted while the roofer's working, etc., that kind of thing. I typically was in and out in 90 days.
And that's from buy to sale. Who else had some? Yes. Too long. That's okay. But that's what I want to bring up is that somebody said earlier, we tend to underestimate our rehab costs. We also tend to underestimate how long it's going to take us to sell the house. Sometimes we overestimate how much we can sell it for. And so as new investors, we try to work with you guys to understand whatever you may be learning from somebody who's been in the business a while, you want to tack on 25% more than that or 50% more than that. One thing today, if you're selling properties in the 150 to 250 range, there's a good chance you're getting an FHA or a VA buyer, and those guys want you to have 90 days of seasoning minimum before you can have the contract binding and before you can close. So even if you're very, very fast at what you do, if you're counting less than 90 days to flip that house, you're probably unrealistic. Not because of anything you've done, not because the market's not quick enough, but because the buyer's lender won't let you flip over 120% profit in less than 91 days. So those kind of things, you have to know how to do that. Evaluating, you have to learn the tools, and that's one thing. Every time I'm in a class with Kurt, I learn some new system or some new software out there that you can use. And that's one of the things you have to be able to do is, how do I evaluate these properties? There are a lot of tools out there today. I like Zillow. 5 years ago, 3 years ago, Zillow was a joke. But in a lot of areas right now, Zillow is point on for a good starting point for you. And what I mean by that is you have to be fast. If you find properties out there, guess what? Other people probably are right behind you or right in front of you seeing the same property. And you can't steal in slow motion. You can't get a good deal if it's somewhere out in this 21 county radius. You're not going to get a good deal unless you're really quick. So again, either your dream team is part of helping you do your evaluation, or you're educated enough and know how to do that evaluation, and you're doing it accurately. One of my tools is days on the market. If I'm looking at $1 million house, I better see that there's a big enough market with fast days on the market to sell that house. Otherwise, it may take me 9 months to a year. Some folks, it takes them 2 years to sell $1 million and $2 million house. I want to know that before I get into that. You know, I may pick that house up for $400,000, but 15 months later, am I going to still be happy about that deal? You know, wholesaling. You know, am I buying and flipping? Am I wholesaling? Am I buying and holding? You know, sometimes I let the deal tell me what I'm going to do with it. And if I don't want to flip, then maybe I'm going to call somebody that wants to be a flip, and I'm end up going to wholesale it. I had a home run wholesale in Gwinnett County and made over $50,000, and I didn't touch the deal. I had $6,000 in the deal. I made over $50,000 on a flip, on a wholesale. And I'm seeing now, a year and a half later, that house finally got finished. Not my forte to build on somebody else's foundation and finish that house. I'm not good at that. So I didn't want to take that risk. I have a funny feeling that person may have made $50,000 or less on the deal too. They should have gotten the lion's share. They did the rehab. You have to know how to evaluate. At what point do you take the risk and fix and flip versus maybe just do it as a wholesale deal? Especially the first couple times. You know, if you haven't done more than 5 deals flipping, you might wholesale them right away. Make a quick $5,000, $10,000 just on the wholesale. Again, find out from your team. One of the things that we do is we train you guys on forms, you know, on deal structuring. When I deal with pre-foreclosures, sometimes I'm not using my credit or I'm not using my cash to buy that deal. I'm structuring it in such a way that maybe I'm doing a sandwich lease, master lease, lease option, where I'm not really owning the property, I'm just controlling it and making $400 a month cash flow. So, you know, you start with the end in mind. You make your profit up front by knowing what your business plan is. Looking at real estate investing as a business, you should take out and put together a 12-month plan. What is it that I want over the next 12 months? I want to replace my W-2, that's $10,000 a month. I want to build my wealth for the future, that's $10,000 a month. Or, you know, so I'm looking at my monthly. If I want to gain cash today because I've got monthly income that I'm satisfied with, then maybe I'm going to flip instead. Or maybe I'm going to wholesale. You know, my exit strategy is depending on where I need my money. Cash now, cash flow, cash later, or a little bit of all of them. Sometimes instead of renting, I may rent on a lease option. Because I get an option fee up front that I get to keep. And then I get rental income. And then I get cash later when they buy the house. So if I sell or if I rent on a lease option, I get a better quality tenant, and I get cash in all 3 buckets. So again, learning those strategies and how to look at your business plan that way is essential to longevity in this business.
Any questions? Yes.
I got one. Back to rehabbing for a moment. How much of the investor buying and paying for or at least paying for the materials? In other words, the contractor or contractors are on site, they're doing the labor, but is the homeowner or investor expected to pay for those materials, and should that be a regular occurrence throughout the entire process? And then also holding money and not paying your contractors too quickly, making sure they've done whatever they're asking for money for before. Isn't that a good way to control?
Right, yes. So, so Tish asked a logistic question about how to run a rehab. There are problems when you buy the materials and you negotiate with the contractor for the labor. It looks like the contractor is your employee. To be a true contractor, they have to set their own hours. They have to determine exactly the means that they do the work, and then be judged on the outcome. When you're buying the materials and you're interacting with them in a micromanaging way, you're treading on the W-2, you owe taxes, you owe things. It's best that you don't do that. buy materials. Now, when you have such small rehab projects like me, I will buy the paint, leave it on site. Painter buys their own rollers, all that kind of stuff. So I do some of each. Smaller the rehab, and the lower the competency of the contractor, the more likely I will buy things, mainly paint and fixtures, because I want to choose the fixture. I buy the fans. I just leave the fans sitting there. Faucets. But 2x4 nails, no, I don't touch that. I have my Home Depot account, and my contractor goes to Home Depot. They spend their time loading up the shopping cart or skid, and they go to the pro desk, and the pro desk punches it all up, and I get a text on my cell phone, and it says, hit 1 to approve. And in that text is a URL I click, and it gives me everything that the contractor has spent on their time, and it goes on my Home Depot account that I get my 2% rebate on every 6 months. I get a card in the mail for 2% of what was spent. So some yes, some no. Now a $100,000 rehab, you're working with a general contractor, you're just writing checks. The general contractor will have his preferred way of how you pay. Often, a third up front, a third halfway, and you hold a reserve of the third at the end. The problem that can happen is that the contractor is underworking, under-delivering, and you've paid some payment too much, and they owe you. You want to make sure that you only pay in arrears, that they have worked in that you haven't yet paid out. On my little projects, paint is one paycheck. Hanging the ceiling fixtures is one paycheck. The exterior paint is one paycheck. So I chop the project up into completion items. Like if I was doing a fix and flip, putting in the kitchen, paycheck. So now they've done the work. You paid them up front for the materials. Now I inspect the kitchen, paycheck. So that's one of the better ways. I like paying weekly because a paint job in my small houses can be painted in a week. No problem. So and my projects are always remote. I drive up to Chattanooga on Saturday, I look at the paint, paycheck. Take a picture of it with my camera, that's my accounting. Questions? Flippers who are doing complicated projects, they're often they're sending you pictures of work. I don't need that because paint job's a paint job. Just don't get the paint on the floor. You know, just get the paint where it's supposed to be, and I'm happy.
We require before you go.
But I mean, instead of going up there,
We require pictures regularly also. So our contractors, one of my partners is the project manager. So on my team, I'm responsible for our buys and I'm responsible for our sales because that's my stream. He's responsible for managing the general contractor. And back when I first started, we used the 3 bids and we took the cheapest bid, and after the first year and a half we stopped doing that. Because we were never on budget and we were never on time, and we spent too much time playing around with those guys too. So these days, unfortunately, I'm at I take one of the higher bids, but I also don't have to babysit it too much. And they're almost always on target. The punch out is always left. There's always that 5% at the end, so if anybody's really good at punch, there's a good business out there for you, because there's always 5% at the end we can never get right. But what's my point?
How you manage a project.
Oh, pictures. Yeah. So I have a pipeline call every week with these guys. For example, we have 6 houses in flip project right now in different areas. And I call Paul every Monday morning. Paul and I are on the phone. We call the ECD, which is the estimated completion date. He has the estimated completion date. I have the COE, close of escrow, when I sell the house, etc. So we pull our spreadsheets, look at all these numbers. His ECD, I'm looking at how close are you to that? I need final pictures. Can I do this? Can I put my sign in lockbox? Where are my pictures? So every 2 weeks, these guys give us anywhere between 35 and 115 pictures, depending on whether or not permits were pulled. Funny enough, it's not even how big the house is. It's whether or not we have permitted work or wasn't permitted work as to how many pictures I really have to get.
I feel like I should make a few comments here. I'm getting the willies just listening to this. As most of you know, I own condos. So 60, 70 condos. Okay, a lot of them were in Clemson, a lot of them were remote. So as far as my rehabs, looking at $7,000 or $8,000, I'd go to the local Home Depot, Lowe's, write down the SKU numbers of things that showed, to Kurt's point, I'm not going to buy drywall and lumber and nails and whatever, but I'm going to pick the light fixtures, the fans, the appliances, the countertops, etc., that I want, fax the guys the SKU numbers. I would pay for them at the Lowe's or Home Depot and usually have them delivered because I was doing 4 or 6 or 8 condos at once, and they would deliver them and negotiate a volume price, and my contractors would put them in. And at the time, most of this was probably before cell phone pictures, but my property manager would inform me that they had done what they were supposed to do, and I would write the checks out accordingly. So it was very simple, but a couple of points here. You know, rehabbing a condo, that's why I'm so quiet today. Rehabbing a condo is not the kind of stuff that we're talking about here. That's just too easy for most people. As well as, you know, managing condos and so forth. I mean, it's just a piece of cake. I refer to condos as a backdoor multi-unit strategy, okay? Because I would buy 20 condos in this complex, 10 in this complex, 10 in this complex. So number one, I'm diversified, which you're not if you go out and buy 20, 30, 40 units in one place. Number two, I write a small check every month, which handles the exterior maintenance, the lawn and landscaping, takes all that burden off me. Number three, there's a property manager, which is another very small check per month, complex manager, $10 to $15 a month, and they take care of all the tenant issues, dog poops. This guy's got a flat tire, this guy's working on his car, this guy's got a boat, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So it made my life very easy. I could not have kept my day job and did what I did, I don't think, with any other strategy. And when it was time to sell, I had multiple exit strategies because I wasn't selling a 20-unit complex. Up in Clemson, I had several exit strategies. My last one was to sell to an investor. My first one was to sell to an owner-occupant. My second one was to sell to someone who had a student in Clemson. And my most preferred one, that I sold most of them, was to sell to a high roller who was going to use it for 5 football games a year. No inspections, no finance, no nothing. Cash, boom, it's yours. Have a nice day. Okay, so just trying to point out some advantages to doing life a little simpler than it's usually done. Okay, use of property managers obviously fits in there too. The other thing, having financed 30 or 40 deals, we could talk a lot about what goes wrong with a flip. Some points have been brought up. I have a bunch of others. And I think that's why you need to take this course, to be sure you don't make some of these. The word permits was used. I've seen the flip that's going wrong down there on Irwin Street was because he was going to have a second floor in a historic area. The man had played in historic areas before. The man was not able to get a permit for second floor. So the project went from 5 bedrooms to 3 right off the bat. And this affected, of course, the selling price that he was hoping to get for it. So basically, and he fought the permit for 6 months. He wasted 6 months trying to get a permit. I financed another investor who will remain nameless, who never pulled a permit. Got caught numerous times, twice on the same house, twice. They shut it down twice. Shut down the power. When you shut down the power in a rehab in the summer in Atlanta, let me tell you, it's not a good thing. The ceiling fan blades go like this. The walls get green. If the stage's got furniture in there, you've got one really pissed off stager with the furniture, let me tell you that. So you need to learn about all these things. You need to decide what you're going to permit, what you're not going to permit. A general contractor is a big safeguard in that regard. A small flip, $8,000, $10,000 interior rehab is a lot easier than adding a second floor and adding bedrooms and adding bathrooms. I suggest you start out walking before you learn how to run. Okay, do things really small and work your way up, and get as much help as you can from Kurt, from general contractors. learn how to pull permits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Get the ARV right. I haven't seen much trouble with the ARVs, mostly because we're in a hot market. I've seen several flips save because of the hot market. Otherwise, they would have lost their bonds, all right? But to get the rehab right and get the time frame right is critical. This guy on Irwin Street that's doing the flip, I put numerous escalator clauses in there. It was a 4-month project. We're 1 year in November to now, 1 year and 4 months. And at the 6-month point, he went to 18% interest. At the 8-month point, he went to 18% plus 2%, 2 points every other month. So essentially 1 point a month. So essentially another percent a month. He paid a bunch of points up front and was paying fairly high interest rate. I would hate to present a success story because I'm going to make a ton of money for the lender this time. So the other thing a lender likes, we talk about the time frame. I've done many people who actually get in and out of there in 4 months. The lender likes that because when you get the 3 points or whatever you get up front, 4 points, 5 points, and you make those in 3 or 4 months, when you annualize that, you multiply that times either 3 or 4, and you make a tremendous rate of return. When you put down points up front and it takes a year, you got to have some escalating clauses in there for the interest rate, or you end up not making a whole lot of money on the lending side of it. So you're gonna if you get in there and get out and do your thing in 3 or 4 months, pull permits correctly, think about all the details. You're going to make friends with lenders, and they're going to give you better rates than you're going to get initially. So I think that's about all I want to say.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, Angela?
Yeah, what are the typical things that you have to pull permits for?
What are the typical things that you pull permits for? Steve, can you?
Well, anything that's structural, any change to the square footage. If you turn down an interior wall, generally not. Paint, carpet, cabinets, stuff like that, generally not. Plumbing, if you're doing any kind of, that gets a little hairy, someone's going to have to answer that better than me. But you got to be very careful depending on what you're doing on plumbing. Fixtures, okay, but you start ripping out pipes and so forth, I think you should probably pull a permit. Again, it's not my area of expertise. I've seen it done both ways. Not an issue in condos.
Part of it is area too. Steve probably could talk about it more than most of us. City of Palmetto hit me hard on things I never would have gotten permits for. It was ridiculous, and it delayed. We took 7 months on a very simple project. I think our rehab was like $27,000. It didn't take 7 months for the rehab. It took me 7 months to get the house sold. It was a hot market. I should have sold it real quick. But the permits from City of Palmetto, I wasn't prepared for. I wasn't prepared for. City of East Point, City of Marietta, City of Decatur. Anybody deal with permitting in those areas? Those will kill you. And I think on an average, our sales from buy to sell with permits, without issues, and this is knowing what we're doing, having the right crews in place. Because if you have a crew in place, you lose that GC, and you need to put somebody else in there to re-get that permit again, you got delays and you got problems. Some folks don't want to come in and permit over somebody else. So you have to know what you're doing. Different ages, 1950s, you can almost always bet you're going to have to do electrical, plumbing, those kind of things. And again, depending on your territory, you might not even be that. You put a dumpster in the front yard and all of a sudden somebody comes and says hi and introduces yourself to the municipality there.
Other questions? Yeah.
Why do you guys think people get more failure for their new investments?
What is the most likely or most often failure rates for new flippers? This is flipping. I don't see many problems in buy and hold. If buy and hold is very forgiving. Flipping, new failure rate? Well, what I've seen is didn't choose the right contractor up front, they disappear or they have to be fired. Yes, contractors often have to be fired, and then you hire another one, and then you're arguing about whether they're going to pick up where the other guy left off, or they're going to tear stuff out. And then not paying them right, and the contractor having you over the barrel, and now they slow things down, and you're worried because you've overpaid them. heard a new person give the entire bid to the contractor up front. The entire amount.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Steve has heard several times. Like, oh my God, $50,000. Right, so is that contractor gonna work very hard for you? So you have to understand that people at different levels have different stresses and different lifestyles. My lower dollar rehabs in small towns, I'm dealing with a much different type of person who does work. They are hand-to-mouth. If you give that person a large chunk of change, they've got tons of bills. They will pay off all their bills, and then they have no money left over to do your work. They will be broke. Some is bad. They have bad things they put money in, and then some is they just got a lot of bills. So always keep a contractor with work in before you pay them. Other questions? Yeah, it is paying arrears. Dave?
Back onto contractors. When doing your contract, you typically put milestones, you know, this has to happen at 30% or, you know, 4 times, whatever. How do you make sure that upfront when you're making that contract, you know exactly what the milestones should be?
All right, so Georgia Remembers will help new people. I help a lot of buy and hold people walk the property before they make the offer, and then help them with the rehab budget. Flippers, we have the North Side Flipping Group that meets once a month, and we have the in-town Flippers Group that meets 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. It's on the calendar. Network with those folks. Have someone walk your deal. Help you with your contract. We have Google groups. You post your contract. We can give you help. So, Dave, that's actually very tied in. Sir, your question is getting the contract right as well as the contractor right. Any other questions? One over there. Go ahead, sir.
As a software consultant, I'm all about systems. So especially for people who are doing multiple projects, whether it's flipping or it's buying holds, what kind of systems do you all use in order to keep things on track? And how do you go about evaluating and choosing what system you utilize? So
your question is fishing for magic bullets. There are no magic bullets. Experienced people must go to their projects nightly. New people have to go to their projects nightly. I go to my projects once a week because I'm doing rental rehabs that are only $15,000. And I trust the contractor because she's done, yes, a woman, and she uses some women in the subs. She's done 6 jobs for me. If this is your first job and the first time you work that contractor,
I will leave it.
right, there you go. So spreadsheet to track each house expenses, plumbing, that's it. And then daily visits. Go ahead, Frank, and back.
How do you verify general contractor credentials?
Right, how do you verify the general contractor's credentials? Are they licensed? You can hire plumbers that aren't licensed to do things that don't require a license. You can hire an electrician to put light switches on and hang fixtures, but they have to be licensed to pull a permit and to replace a breaker box. So it's lots of shades of gray. The general contractor, who's, if you hire one, which I suggest all new people should start their first few projects with a general contractor. They have to be licensed. There's a state website, I don't have it offhand, but it gets posted often to the Dealmakers Google group. The Secretary of State licensure website, you punch their name in, they have to find it. Some people work under someone else's license, and now it's tricky, but yes, Frank asked a good question. You should verify, if you're using general contractor, they are licensed.
And be able to see some of their jobs.
Right, and go look at their jobs, and they have to be insured. Sophisticated investors ask the general contractor to have their insurance policy name the investor, you, as a also insured. So there's step. Good question, Frank. Any other questions? Yeah, this is so exciting. God, the hair on the back of my neck is still standing.
How many members here are not on at least one of our Google groups? Good job. So all the members are on the Google groups. Good.
Yeah, my job, good job, Kurt.
If you're a guest tonight, we hope you'll join us as members.
Yeah, new and, right. This is the second Monday of the month. The second Tuesday of the month, which this month happens to be tomorrow night, at Tilly Mill is the New Investors Group. Everyone is welcome at the New Investors Group. Some experienced investors show up every week anyway, and we talk about all sorts of interesting, these types of topics of getting started. So tomorrow night at the Tilly Mill office, just look it up on our website, garia.com. I just want to make sure that after this meeting, we all are going to go over to the meeting after the meeting at Rose and Crown. So punch into your GPS, your cell phone, Rose and Crown. They have food and drinks, and so we're going to all run over there.
Like a couple miles.
I encourage everyone to attend the Fast Start Boot Camp and the Buy and Hold Boot Camp. It's the next two boot camps. I highly recommend it to anyone who's a new investor or an intermediate investor. And, Kurt's fantastic. He does all this pro bono. Darlene too, for the most part. And we love to see them share, and they're doing things very selflessly. On the other hand, I'm here for your mortgage business. Mary's going to hand out my cards on your way out. But they are here to develop you for the future, and they want to. No, I'm here for that too. But they really want to teach you a lot. I encourage everyone to register for the next two classes. They're awesome. This course and the next course, the next general meeting, we're going to talk a lot about buy and hold, and you're going to really develop these thoughts over a weekend. So I encourage everyone to register for the next two classes. And I'm going to wind the meeting down.
If I can help you on contracts, scripts, anything like that, I've got just a flyer on my website. You go to my website, click on the free consultation. You set it up for 30 minutes and it usually takes an hour and a half. If you've got some deals, that's what we do at my class too. Kurt's got them. My class is third Wednesday, and you bring whatever you need to class. That's what we do. We're darbyshouses.com. Just go on investor. I ask you to fill out an investor profile. Tell me what you're trying to do, and I'll help you with it.